The Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act is a United States federal statute that protects two species of eagle. The bald eagle was chosen as a national emblem of the United States by the Continental Congress of 1782 and was given legal protection by the Bald Eagle Protection Act of 1940. This act was expanded to include the golden eagle in 1962. Since the original act, the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act has been amended several times. It currently prohibits anyone, without a permit issued by the Secretary of the Interior, from taking bald eagles. Taking is described to include the parts, nests, or eggs, molesting or disturbing the birds. The act provides criminal penalties for persons who take, possess, sell, purchase, barter, offer to sell, purchase or barter, transport, export or import, at any time or any manner, any bald eagle, alive or dead, or any part, nest, or egg thereof. The purpose of the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act is to not agitate the bald and golden eagle to the extent of not 1. Abusing an eagle, 2. Interfering with its substantial lifestyle, including shelter, breeding, feeding, or 3. Nest abandonment. The eagle feathers have been collected and incorporated into clothing, art, jewelry, etc. In addition, having the possession, exchange, or sale of bald eagle feathers violates the Act if no permit is obtained. The basic structure of the Act resembles the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. The importance of the Bald and Golden Eagle. Bald eagle. The bald eagle has inspired millions of Americans across the nation since June 20, 1782. The American Eagle Day was celebrated ideally for the recovery and restoration of this exclusive bird. On June 28, 2007, the Department of the Interior has taken the bald eagle off the endangered and threatened species list. In addition, these birds have become a national symbol. The Second Constitutional Congress decided upon using American bald eagles as the Great Seal of the United States. There were many disagreements with the choice of national symbol. For example, one of the Founding Fathers, Benjamin Franklin, quoted, "I wish that the bald eagle had not been chosen as the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character. Besides, he is a rank coward." He thought that the bald eagle should have been a wild turkey, because it is a bird of courage. In contrast, John F. Kennedy stated, "The Founding Fathers made an appropriate choice when they selected the bald eagle as the emblem of the nation. The fierce beauty and proud independence of this great bird aptly symbolizes the strength and freedom of America." Golden eagle. The golden eagle is used as a national symbol in Mexico and in many countries. It symbolizes many cultures and traditions in various societies. It also symbolizes other countries such as Albania, Germany, Austria, and Kazakhstan. The Hopi tribe removes nestlings, raise them, and sacrifice them once they are mature. In 1986, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have issued a permit allowing the tribe to continue their activities legally. The golden eagle symbolizes many values such as grace, power, and magisterial wilderness. In North America, it is the largest bird of prey with physical features of dark brown with lighter golden brown plumage. It is known as a mountain bird, which travels in open landscapes taken over by short vegetation. An example of this would be western part of the United States, Alaska, northwestern Europe, Japan, eastern Siberia, etc. In the western United States, the golden eagles were mainly found in forest areas, including tundra, shrublands, grasslands, coniferous forests, and farmland. The eagles reside in areas where the human population is very few. The mortality of these birds is due to extensive land use and the attacks from ranches. Timeline: 1782, the Founding Fathers at the Second Continental Congress adopted the bald eagle as the symbol of the United States. The United States had approximately 100,000 nesting eagles. 1921, in the magazine Ecology, articulated the possible extinction of the bald eagles. 1930, dichlorodiphényl-trichloroethane was first discovered. 1940, Congress enacted legislation known as the Bald Eagle Protection Act. This act prohibited selling, killing, or possessing the species. 1950, bald eagle was beginning to recover from human persecution. 1952, bald eagle protection extended to include Alaska. 1962, Congress amended the act, extending the ban to golden eagles, and the law became the Bald Eagle and Golden Eagle Protection Act. This law protects the bird's feathers, eggshells, and body parts. In addition, it protects the nesting trees. The bald eagles are significant to Native American tribes, and therefore BEPA gave an exception for Indian religious purposes. 1963, due to shooting, dichlorodiphényl-trichloroethane poisoning, and loss of habitat, the bald eagles were in danger of extinction. Within 48 states, there were only 487 nesting pairs of bald eagles. 1972, the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act was amended again with several different aspects, such as increasing the civil penalties for violating. Provisions increased to a maximum fine of $100,000 and 1 year of imprisonment for first conviction. If second conviction occurs, a $100 million and 10 years of imprisonment will take place. DDT is banned in the United States, which resulted in the initial step of recovery for the bald eagles. 1994, an executive issue was ordered by President Clinton which recognized the administrative delays and difficulties in obtaining eagle parts from the Federal Repository. The president also urged the relevant agencies to restructure the application process and continue the effort to obtain eagle parts to distribute to Native Americans. 1995, the bald eagle status altered from endangered to threatened. 1999, Fish and Wildlife Service request to remove the bald eagles from the endangered species and threatened list. 2007, FWS and the U.S. removed the bald eagles from threatened and endangered species. Conflict with culture and industry. The bald and golden eagles and the feathers are highly valued by most Native Americans. Usually, the logo of an eagle feather is seen as a symbol of the Native Americans. They honor and respect the eagles for they are believed to symbolize certain characteristics such as honesty, truth, majesty, strength, courage, wisdom, power, and freedom. Native Americans consider eagles to be the master of the sky since they fly higher than any other birds and therefore are closer to God. It is also believed that because eagles fly higher in the sky for long periods of time, they carry prayers from ground to the Creator of the world. Due to all of these reasons, wearing or receiving an eagle feather is considered a mark of honor in many Native American cultures. To capture and kill the eagles was a skill-requiring job, therefore certain men were assigned to do so. Many tribes wore the eagle feathers in the hair during ceremonies and dancing. Men would receive certain numbers of feathers depending on the task that was performed. For example, a pillager Chippewa is costumed to give 2 feathers to a warrior who scalped an enemy and 5 feathers to one who performed an act of capturing a wounded prisoner found on the battlefield. Under the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act, permits can be obtained to possess the eagle's parts and feathers for religious purposes and lawful activities. In June 2007, bald eagles were removed from the endangered species list. However, the Protection Act still applies. As of 2009, the Act has made it possible for one to obtain a permit to move from operating utilities and airports. Previously, these deeds would have been considered as disturbance, but now, as long as it is limited, non-purposeful take of bald eagles and golden eagles, authorizing individuals, companies, government agencies, and other organizations are allowed to disturb or otherwise take eagles in the course of conducting lawful activities. Non-purposeful take is defined as taking of eagles for reasons that are associated with take that is not purposeful of an activity, but for a purpose that practically cannot be avoided. The act has at times hindered renewable energy projects. Wind turbines can kill and injure birds, including eagles, potentially exposing their operators to criminal liability under the act, even those which have taken steps to reduce eagle mortality. A draft of guidelines for the wind energy industry, which incorporates means for applying for incidental take permits under the act and thus avoiding its penalties, was released in 2011 by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Decline of the bald and golden eagle population. With the introduction of DDT as a widespread insecticide in the United States from 1940 to 1950 to control malaria, the bald eagle population decreased precipitously, falling to a low point of 487 nesting pairs in 1963. By this point, the detrimental effects of DDT had already been a causative factor in the decline of other bird populations, and public awareness was raised when Rachel Carson published her book Silent Spring in 1962. DDT alters the calcium metabolism of female birds, preventing them from creating a hard shell around the eggs they produce. This egg thinning led to a higher rate of egg loss due to cracks during incubation. Dead birds retained larger amounts of DDT in the fatty tissues and gonads, which may have caused the birds to become infertile. Moreover, small animals ate plants that were sprayed with other pesticides which were then eaten by the birds of prey. More than 100,000 bald eagles were killed in Alaska from 1917 to 1953. Public awareness arose during this time, and many groups and individuals dedicated to make the conservation of eagles a national issue. The Patuxent Wildlife Research Center in Maryland started to breed eagles in captivity to increase the population numbers. The goal was to breed enough birds to increase the population of bald eagles in areas where the population was declining and to reintroduce them in those areas where they had been wiped out completely. The center started breeding with one pair and began studying the behavior, functioning, and other areas to make this a successful rehabilitation program. In 1988, the program was stopped due to the success in increasing the number of eagles in the environment. At this time, the bald eagles had started breeding naturally. Although United States banned DDT in 1972, other factors played a role in the declining of bald and golden eagles. Dieldrin and polychlorinated biphenyl are pollutants in the environment that can also harm the eagles and the nesting area. These chemicals disperse and remain in the environment, causing problems for these birds. Human activity is another reason for the declining of the bald eagles. In contrast, the golden eagle primarily eats rabbits, hares, ground squirrels, and other common prey, which has allowed them to escape the harms of DDT and other related chemicals. Unlike the rupture of the bald eagle eggshells, the golden eagle's shells retained the thickness. There was a known cause in the reproduction system due to the pesticide concentration in the bloodstream. Additionally, power lines cause a frequent electrocution, which results in death for the majority of the eagle population. Electric companies have been assisted by scientists and researchers to make power lines and poles safe for the eagles. In the early 1970s, utility companies have designed poles to prevent eagle electrocutions, and some new power lines in non-urban areas have been built to raptor-safe construction standards. Native Americans have been killing bald eagles for centuries for religious purposes. The goal of killing the eagle is to gather eagle feathers for religious ceremonies. The third reason of this declination is in most states, animal traps are set on the ground to kill untamed animals for fur. As animals are trapped, eagles become attracted to the bait and eventually are caught in the trap. Eagles' feet play a crucial role in food hunting, and if trapped, the injured bird can starve and die before its foot heals. Another reason is duck and geese hunters who shoot from rifles and guns may actually kill bald eagles. In addition, hunters who have shot and neglected ducks and geese are retrieved by eagles. This results in poisoning the eagle by the gunshots from the hunters. Lastly, majority of farmers and ranchers consider bald and golden eagles a threat to their livestock, and therefore shoot them. Primarily, the golden eagles were not affected by DDT, but rather in the change of diet. Unfortunately, many assumptions are made about the bald and golden eagles, thinking they are harmful. The two eagles seek for dead animals that are killed from other factors. The measures that were taken to protect bald and golden eagles, such as the 1940 Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act banning of DDT in 1972, the Bald Eagle Endangered Species Act of 1973, and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service Program of 1992, all helped upgrade the status from endangered to threatened. Bald eagle recovery and conservation. Since the 1972 ban on DDT, the eagle has been able to gain healthy population growth. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services were able to achieve this with the cleaning of waterways, including lakes and rivers, protecting nesting sites, and reintroducing eagles back to their original environments. The bald eagle was first proposed to be removed from the protection of the U.S. Endangered Species Act by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services in the 1999 issue of the Federal Register. The final rule to remove or delist the bald eagle from the Endangered Species Act was published on July 9, 2007 and was put into effect on August 8, 2007. When the bald eagle was removed, the FWS had collected data on 9,789 breeding pairs. In 1983, the Northern States Bald Eagle Recovery Plan was proposed. This plan, like the Patuxent Wildlife Research Center plan, had goals to re-establish self-sustaining populations of bald eagles throughout the northern regions. Their initial goal was to have 1,200 occupied breeding areas. That is, the local area associated with one territorial pair of eagles and containing one or more nest structures, distributed over a minimum of 16 states within the region by year 2000. They aimed to achieve an annual productivity of 1.0 young per occupied nest. The plan had specific tasks that were characterized by following categories. 1. Determine current populations and habitat status. 2. Determine minimum population and habitat needed to achieve the goal. 3. Protect and increase the bald eagle population's habitats. And 4. Implement a coordination system for information and communication. To achieve these tasks, annual surveys, habitat assessment, site-specific management plan, and establishing improved communication and coordination. They worked on improving the habitat conditions, especially during winter, to maximize the survival rate of these eagles. Hacking technique. The purpose of a recovery plan for any species is to improve the ranking of the species or remove it from the endangered list. The bald eagle has recovered in most regions of the United States. The banning of DDT made a tremendous impact on the recovery of the bald and golden eagles. The bald eagle is a prominent resident in New York. In the 1960s, the declination of these birds from New York increased due to the distribution of pesticides and habitat destruction. In 1976, the Department of Environmental Conservation formed a restoration program called the hacking technique. The purpose of this technique is to take eaglets from wild nests and transfer them to a region where they are raised in artificial nests. The young birds were placed on an artificial nesting platform for several weeks. The birds lived in cages once the feathers became fully developed. In addition, they were fed and watched by human caretakers. Around 12 to 13 weeks old, the eaglets were tested for the flying ability. In order to monitor the birds, small radio transmitters were placed on the bird's back. Assisted with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Cornell University to release 23 successful young eagles. The young eagles learned how to hunt and feed on their own without any parental care. Once they were raised and matured, they were released back to where they were raised from and in hopes of becoming breeding birds. The program was a success across the nation for 13 years. In 1989, the program ended due to an observation made by state biologists. It was observed that the population of released birds was increasing in the New York State, reproducing successfully. Due to the Environmental Quality Bond Act and the Environmental Protection Fund, these birds are growing at a steady rate by taking advantage of the open land and habitats. Post-delisting monitoring plan. Under the authority of the Endangered Species Act, a post-delisting monitoring plan has been created within states for all the species that have been recovered and delisted. The service requires monitoring bald eagles in a continuous manner over a period of 20 years, with sampling events detained once every 5 years. The states have accumulated an attempt to check the bald eagle population annually, including the nesting areas and habit areas. The objective of this plan is to gather data from the set of known nest locations and combine it with the area plot samples selected from eagle habitat areas across the nation to present a dual-frame estimate. Combining the two data results will provide an accurate estimate of the actual nesting population of bald eagles. The plan includes having a close observation of the bald eagles' nests by the state natural resource wildlife conservation agencies. The purpose of the plan is to distinguish a 25% change in occupied bald eagle nests on a national scale over a period of 5-year interval, with an 80% chance of detecting a 25% chance a higher difference between 5-year intervals. A minimum of 200 plots are required to survey across the nation, with habitats that include a medium to high density of bald eagle nests. The weather, habit change, population cycles, contaminants, and productivity will be taken into consideration if the bald eagle population is declining. In addition, under the Endangered Species Act, further research, extension of monitoring, and resumption of federal protection will take place. The bald eagle's recovery is an intriguing success story. The intention of this plan is to maintain and protect the population from any harm. Recovery plan in the lower 48 states. Table 1. The bald eagle population in the lower 48 states is divided into 5 recovery regions. Penalty. Criminal penalty. The criminal penalty stipulation was increased from a maximum fine of $500 and 6 months imprisonment to a maximum fine of $5,000 and 1 year's imprisonment. Furthermore, in the second case of second conviction, the penalty was increased to $10,000 fine and 2 years imprisonment. The maximum amount of a misdemeanor offense was increased $100,000 under the Criminal Fines and Improvement Act of 1987. In addition, $250,000 will be fined for an individual for a felony conviction, respectively. $200,000 and $500,000 will be fined in case of an organization for a misdemeanor and felony conviction. Civil penalty. The civil penalty provision was added, stating anyone who takes, possesses, transports, sells, barters, or purchases any dead or alive bald golden eagles will be fined $5,000 for each violation. In addition, he or she who violates or disturbs any egg or nest will be fined under the Civil Penalty Act. The act allowed the taking, possession, or transporting of the bald and golden eagles in areas where they were endangering wildlife and livestock. Major code sections of the Bald and Golden Eagle Act. Table 1. Major U.